everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinematic Trinity, where we talk movies, games, and TV shows. Today we're going to be talking about Madam Web, the new Marvel, Sony, whatever film.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. So where does one start with Madam Web?
Well, I think as you say, it is... So Sony have got their own cinematic universe, which they're trying to do with Spider-Man villains, or like Spider-Man's world, just not putting Spider-Man in there.
So this is the same universe as Morbius, Amazing Spider-Man. It's that same studio.
It's the same studio, yeah.
It's not like Marvel where Tom Holland is Spider-Man.
No.
It's where Andrew Garfield was Spider-Man.
No, it's not even that. I don't think they haven't even set out who Spider-Man is in this universe.
I know, but I mean it's the same studio. It's who made it.
So it's the same people who made Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Madam Web is basically like a standalone movie in the Sony universe. There's no ties to like anything, and Madam Web follows this woman who is kind of bit by a radioactive spider, and her special powers, not like Spider-Man, it's not like she can swing around or stick to walls, she can basically see the future.
Yeah, she has visions, doesn't she?
Yeah, Cassie Webb, who's played by Dakota Johnson. So, yeah, I think just off the bat, wasn't very good, was it?
No, it wasn't. In fact, it was complete and utter rubbish. This film was, and my joke was going to be, but I was too embarrassed to make it. Was that it shouldn't be called Madam Web? It should be called Madam Exposition, because the entirety of the film is just exposition.
Yeah.
And I love that word. It's my favourite word because I hate it so much. It's nice to have a word that like defines it really well. And it is just, there's so much of it. Like literally the first couple of lines of the film is basically just exposition, but not even like we need to know this. Like they had to get it in there somehow. It's just lazy writing.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's funny though, because it's kind of like they're trying to almost downplay it. It's not exposition, but it definitely is, because it's like, oh, you need to go find the spider that can give you superhuman abilities and heal all these diseases. Oh, what are you, some sort of Amazon tribe that jumps around in the trees like spiders do? It's just like...
Yeah, it's terrible.
Weakness is definitely, it's very expositional. Like, no one speaks like a real person. It's just like everyone needs to give you their backstory.
No. I saw there's people talking online about the fact that they're convinced that Sony in this studio setting, whatever, whoever it is that's made this film, they're convinced that they're using AI to write a lot of their scripts, and that's why like they're so poor at the moment.
Well,
it's because that's what they're...
Yeah, it's because Dakota...
It feels like that.
Dakota Johnson said as well, didn't she? She was like, it's like an AI who wrote your boyfriend's favourite favourite movie.
Yeah.
Which definitely wasn't. Speaking as a boyfriend, was not a good movie. But the film basically follows... so Cassie Webb gets her powers. She kind of finds out she can see into the future. And then, like, the side plot is the villain of the movie, Ezekiel Sims, is basically trying to track down these girls who will become Spider Women.
Because he's also a spider person.
Yes, but he's not Spider-Man.
He's not Spider-Man, but he does have a Spider-Man-esque suit, and he can climb around, but he can also see into the future. So he's having visions of these three girls that they're going to come and kill him.
Yeah.
And I quite like... If there's anything about this film that I like, but again, it's probably not the film's doing, it's probably just like the comic book's doing, is the fact that she's learning, she can see into the future, but she doesn't quite know what's happening. And, they're saying, why would these three women all be in the same place at the same time when we're trying to hunt for them? And then he says, they're like, why are they all connected? And they say, maybe... that's what we're about to see is how they're all connected. And I was like, I don't mind that. But it was just executed so poorly.
Yeah.
I really think that this film could have been really, really good. It could have been absolutely brilliant because it had all the parts there, but just the script and the acting and all stuff like that was just made it just terrible and not even like funny. Like, it was just like, I can't believe that this is what you think that I'm going to take from my film. Like, this is really awful. Oh, for God's sake.
Cut to
you with those gloves.
So, for context, people listening, I've just cracked out...
Michael's wearing Spider-Man gloves.
which I bought for this review because you know what, I like a bit of set dressing. We've got a little Spider-Man comic next to the microphone here. What else? We went into a costume shop and we were like, oh, what's Spider-Man? There's no Spider-Man masks in this costume shop. So the only thing we could find is a pair of Spider-Man gloves.
I know, that is terrible.
So hello. I'm going to cut to Kieran here because Kieran...
That's just an advertisement for everybody to watch this on YouTube so that they can see Michael's crazy gloves that he's got on.
Yeah. Post a tweet. That'll be the idea. Do a tweet of me going, hey.
He's got it down.
Kieran said something interesting earlier, which I...
well, why don't you let Kieran say it?
About...
Okay. I think I know what he's
what
he's going to say. So I was talking to Michael and I was... Because when we came out, I was like, I did not enjoy that. Like, there was not a single thing about that film that I enjoyed. So I went and I really thought about, like, a single thing I could name that I was like, that was good. Like, I enjoyed that. And I could not find... I really tried. I really did try. And I could not find a single redeemable quality in this movie. Mm-hmm. Like, the acting... Dakota Johnson's acting got gradually worse
it did.
throughohout the movie.
Yeah.
By the...
It's like she realised what film she was actually making and then she was like, God, this is just going to be awful, isn't it?
When was it? It was... I think it was a bit where she was like inside the web or something and she was... she was talking to her mum, was it?
It was definitely when she like...
Gotcha.
It was when she like tries to like hone her powers, like she goes to Peru.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna... This is the spoiler warning, by the way.
Yeah, spoilers.
So yeah, she goes to
Not
like
that
Peru.
anybody cares.
Yeah, goes to Peru to like master her powers. She like bumps into... Which... This is a very weird decision. So she bumps into one of the spider cult people who basically, at the beginning of the movie, her mum's pregnant with her, and then like she gets shot. So the spider by the bad guy.
Bad guy.
So the spider people take her back to this cave and basically gives like a water birth. The mum dies in the cave, and it's like the spider people are like, "Oh, we'll look after you." They're not like, we'll look after your daughter. So she goes back and speaks to the head of them, and he's just dressed in normal clothes, which really, I was like, what? Where's he come from? Has he just been staying in like an Airbnb, like just down the road waiting for her? Because he's like, one day your daughter will come back and I'll be here waiting for her. But he's just there in like normal clothes. He's like, at the beginning, he's in this like the jungle spider getup, and then she's like, she goes there because she's like, oh look, I've discovered I have these powers. What am I to do? What's going on? So he's like, and he throws out the line as well. Where it's like, with great responsibility also comes great power, like obviously flipping the
I rolled my eyes quite heavily.
We don't need to see that again.
And it's that when she's like, just, it's almost like, I was kind of thinking she's turning into like Bran Stark here, because it's like when Bran becomes like an omnipotent in Game of Thrones, it's like this whole, I'm above everything.
I'm the three-eyed raven.
Yeah, but like that was somehow better than what Dakota Johnson was doing. But yeah, that's when it goes downhill a little bit.
I mean, the funnest part of watching it was just how I just kept turning to you every 5 minutes and just passing comment about what was going on.
It's definitely a film where you can
and
just
the
laugh.
fact that I was very disappointed that when they went to Peru, we didn't run into Paddington. Why are we not running into Paddington when we're in Peru?
Because Paddington wouldn't be
only place.
Paddington wouldn't be in a crap movie. That's why he's got much better things to be doing than being in Mad and Wet.
It's got standards.
Originally he was on set and then he just walked out.
He got the call from Sony and he had to decline.
I've read the script.
Yeah.
It's a no.
So I think we'll try and go through like a bit more chronologically. So we'll the Peru bit happens towards the end, but it's on she's a paramedic in New York. She works with Uncle Ben.
Let's not talk about the plot. Let's talk about the fact.
We don't want to talk about the movie. We're going to talk about something else.
No, let's just talk about the fact that all the scenes where she's a paramedic are so unrealistic. It was actually winding me up. Like, they were doing CPR, like one of the big things about this film, like a overarching, what's it called? Chekhov's gun. Chekhov's CPR. Like, literally, I keep bringing it up. But the CPR that they're trying to, like, recreate in this is just so rubbish.
So weak looking, isn't it?
I know,
She's just
really took me out of it.
You see her, like, with this builder guy, like, there's, like, an accident at a fireworks factory, and she's there, and she's just there, like...
Yeah, she's like not even. It's like I'm sure that they have the budget to get like a fake dummy or something like that's what they do, isn't it? Like they make the person like fake looking, and then you go in with the CPR to make it look real. But it's like they've just got the person lying there, and because you can't do CPR on a person who's alive, that's why it's just like God. It just really like, and all the scenes of her like driving the ambulance.
Yeah.
And it's all like vroom, vroom, like swerving in and out of these cars.
Yeah.
It's like, why are these cars not pulling over for the ambulance? Like,
I know,
do
she's
do
also-
they do,
yeah.
is it not like the UK where you just pull over and then they
yeah.
go like, what's going on here?
Yeah. So she's paramedic. She finds out she's got these powers. There's a few pointless scenes in this movie. She goes to like a baby shower, and the whole point of it is that she works with Ben Parker, obviously Uncle Ben,
Yeah.
and then it's his sister, Peter Parker's mum, is going to give birth.
Who's Emma Roberts, who
Yeah,
we
don't know
know
why.
from movies such as Wild Child.
Never watched that.
I know you haven't watched
She's been
that,
in
and that's very disappointing.
American Horror Story.
Yeah, we don't care
Scream
about that.
Queens.
We
Remember
don't
her
care
from
about
that?
Wild Child.
Anyway,
You need
Emma
to watch
Roberts,
it.
someone who shouldn't really been in this movie just because she has done better things.
Yeah,
I think.
feel like she was supposed to have a bigger part, or I feel like none of the people
know.
who were in this film really knew. And there's a lot of talk about that online. The fact that they all thought that they were going to be in like a Marvel film.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, the thing is, if they did think that, first of all, Marvel films aren't actually that good at the moment. So why did they think that they were going to be in this amazing film anyway? But I can understand why they were, if that is what happened, why there was confusion, because it's confusing for everybody, like the rights about Spider-Man and stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it just does feel like nobody really knew what they were signing up for. And then by the time it was too late, they realised what was happening, so they
Yeah.
just didn't put any effort into it.
Yeah. Which you can tell from like Dakota Johnson, like her press
Especially
tour has just
her.
been very
Yeah,
depressing to
I
listen
honestly
to.
find it really, really disappointing that she is in such a privileged position to be doing this job, and she should, obviously, like, her parents were in the industry as well, so there's nepotism involved. But it's like she should just be like, just appreciate it. Like, it's like she just doesn't care at all. She's just there for the paycheck, which is absolutely fine if that's the way you want to be. But I don't want to see people like that. I want to see people in films who genuinely care about the films that they're making and care about the industry that they're in and want to see it like grow and do great things and make great films. Like, I know I always hated Margot Robbie for no reason, but I really like her now, and I just think it's good to see her going about, and now she's producing and she's doing all these things,
Yeah.
and she loves the films that she's in and she's really involved. Like, how fantastic. Like, we need more people like that. I don't just want people who don't care about what they're doing in my films, because it just comes across on screen. Do you not agree? Like, just do you two agree
It
with
doesn't-
me?
Yeah.
It's hard to get excited for a movie where the cast aren't excited about
Yeah.
it. Like, it's like I watched like the interviews when like the Oppenheimer cast like talking about the film, and like that you can tell they had a good time and like have a good relationship with each other. But like this, it's just you just don't get that from watching them talk about it. And I felt sorry for like the three Spider Women, obviously, who are being hunted in the movie, because they're like up and coming actresses. Like they're probably the most enthusiastic people out of the cast who are doing these press tours. But yeah, it's just kind of they're in a crap movie. Like, so I feel a bit sad for them. Because I was like, when I was speaking to Kieran about what like I would try and praise the film for, I thought about out of like the three Spider Women, I can't remember her name, but the one whose like dad got deported, so not like the
Brown
one who
hair.
yeah
I can't remember her name.
so not
either.
Sydney Sweeney, not the one who's on the skateboard, the other one.
She was definitely the best one of the three.
Yeah, because I at
agree.
least again, there's just the expositional dialogue. Like Sydney Sweeney was just all like, my mum and dad are divorced, and I live with my dad and my stepmom, and I think they don't like me. It's just like, no one asked you.
Yeah.
No one asked you about this. And then it's like the one with the skateboard is like, oh, my parents live in Beijing. They earn loads of money, but they probably wish they didn't have a kid. So it's like, again, nobody cares about this stuff. It comes out with it all of a sudden. Like, that's just the problem. This exposition just comes unwarranted. There's no like rhyme or
Nothing is
reason
left
for
unsaid, is it?
No,
Like,
no.
Even when there's a scene where where Dakota Johnson, Cassie, is in this web where they can basically see the future and also, see what's happened in the past, and she's talking to her mum and she's seeing what her mum went through, because her whole thing of the film, although it's not really a thing, is the fact that she didn't like her mum, because why would she go to the Amazon rainforest when she's like 8 months pregnant or whatever, and she ended up dying there, which is obviously why she's not got, and she was like, why did my mum do this? But she learns why, because Cassie was supposed to have, you know, a condition where she might not be able to walk and things like that. So her mum was going to find these spiders in the Amazon to try and cure her, and she learns about all this. But you don't learn about it from watching the mum. You watch the mum, and then Dakota Johnson then says, oh, you did all this for me. Oh, you really cared about me, didn't you? And it's like, yeah, we didn't need you to say that. We already know, like, we're not idiots. We know it. We're watching it.
I thought you were going to say where she's watching that happen, and it's like, I'm sorry, but your kid's going to have this medical condition. And then Dakota Johnson's like, but I don't have a medical condition. It's just like, oh, it's the line. It's just like, why did that line need to be in there?
Yeah, exactly. Like, just, it doesn't need to, like, we know it. Like, we can see it happening. Like, have a bit of faith in your audience that we're not complete idiots.
That is the thing. Because, again, it's like the whole Peter Parker thing as well. Like, they go to the baby shower, and it's obviously Peter Parker's baby shower. It's like, what are you going to call your kid? Oh, I don't know. Oh, you know, it's a secret. It's kind of like, why are you, like, it's not going to be a big twist if you come out and say it's Peter Parker. Like, it's not going to be, it's not
we
pivotal.
Already know.
And you don't even hear it at the end. Like, the kid gets born towards the end of the movie, and then it's like, no, you don't hear the name, but you're clearly like, well, it's Peter Parker. Like, you're not going to turn around and be like, oh no, it's Miles Morales. Like, you know, it's not going to be that all of a sudden. But it's just, I don't know. Like, it just kind of treats you, it just doesn't respect you as much, you know.
No.
Do you think they overdid, like, the bits where she, like, is seeing that she's got the powers, and, like, because it happens first where she's doing CPR at the
factory. Yeah.
Happens first there, and then I think it happens twice at the baby shower, and then it happens like a fourth time in her apartment. I feel like they only needed two of those. I feel like they did it like far too often before she's like, so something's not right.
And when she's on the train, when she is going to like meet the girls,
so
like
long.
It swapped and changed while she was figuring it out. It just went on for about 10 minutes. I would have already got there by now.
It's all like first time around. That's like, you know, it happens. She's very confused about what happened. Like, you kind of just needed to make it quicker or something, because like sometimes it's like, this just happened, what's going on? And then the train one was the worst, because it was like, it almost didn't really make sense, because it was kind of like her reliving certain bits over and over again, because it was like the different triggers when like the girls would get on the train. It'd be like this guy going, I was like, the city gets crazier every day, and it's like, is this the train to this place? Maybe like different triggers, and then like obviously it plays out, and she's like, wait a minute, I've already seen this happen.
Isn't the different people supposed to like represent the fact that she can be in multiple places at once using the web?
I don't think so. I didn't know.
That's what I thought it was. When they said later,
it's not explained.
It's not explained, but that was my interpretation. She sees these different people, like kind of all sat in the same seat almost, or sitting next to her, but they're never all there at the same time. So I thought it must be that she has the power to be in these three different places, but which is it actually going to be? Which one is actually going to happen?
I think when it did the actual one, the actual run through, all three were there, and they came in like one by one at the end, and then that's where
I think it's almost meant to be like a countdown sort of thing, because like first girl gets on the train, she sees like she gets killed, and then it's like someone says something. Second girl gets on, sees she gets killed. Then it's, you know, it keeps going on like that for a little while, and then it's kind of like, when this final guy says his line, that's when the guy comes on the train and kills these girls, therefore we should get off the train, kind of thing. It goes on too long. It's not like
it doesn't go on too long.
And then obviously there's a bit of confusing thing, like she gets the girls off the train because then the spider guy comes on there, and it's like, you know, we need to get away. Sydney Sweeney goes, this woman's kidnapping us, and then that turns into a whole side plot of like the police think that she kidnapped these girls when, like, you know, could have easily been explained away after the fact. But no, she like drives these girls to the woods. She's like, I'm going to leave you guys in the woods for 3 hours.
Yeah, she's very irresponsible.
Yeah.
But not in like sometimes people, like characters are like horrible and nasty and don't care, but it's kind of like their character trait. I know it doesn't feel like that.
She's meant to be like an apprehensive guardian, isn't she? But then it's like it just doesn't translate that well into what you're watching, because it's kind of like, it also doesn't make any sense, because it's kind of like, well, the kidnapped girls can't come with me, but I could, like, me, most wanted person, like, because I kidnapped these girls, can go back to my apartment, no problems, you know. And it's she leaves them alone for 3 hours. They go away to a cafe because obviously they get bored in the woods. I will say this, to be fair, like Scandalous, the song comes on, and when they go there, and I was like, I've never heard that song in a movie, at least for like years and years. I know the film is set in 2003, but I thought I like the song. It was just very interesting. That and like
you turned to me and you was like, why is this song in it? I was like, I don't know, like it's just the time.
Just weird though, isn't it? It's like that, and then Toxic by Britney Spears. It's like you really spend your music licenses on like
they did definitely spend their music licenses because there was some, a lot of licensed music in this. I still don't think they quite got the right songs though. Like I think that they could have.
I mean, the toxic thing is kind of there because she has like another moment where she envisions her go into the cafe, and then the spider guy comes up, kills the girls, and kills her. So it's like, oh wait, backtrack. This is what we need to do. And I don't
like all that kind of stuff where she is seen into the future and she's kind of like figuring it out. Like I think that it's good, but just not in this film. Like I'd like to see somebody who can actually make a film.
I don't think they did enough with it because it's kind of like on a few occasions it's like it happens once, she fails, and then second try she succeeds. It's not like she constantly
doesn't have to keep doing
fails
it
and
like
keeps dying. Like they could have done it that way. At least it's a bit more interesting because then you're like, oh, she's actually trying to overcome this and like think about a solution. But no, it's just kind of like, oh, I got stabbed when I walked in there by myself, so I'm just going to drive my car and run him over. And then, she takes him back to a hotel, teaches him CPR, which again, that's another scene where you're just like, this is clearly going to come up later in the movie, but it feels like a waste of time. Yeah. It feels like such a waste of like time watching it happen because it's just like, I guess it's meant to be like a bonding moment, but you just don't care about these characters because it's just like, remember when you get tired, you need the other person to take over. Okay, great work. It's just like, I don't care. Like, what is happening from this scene? She goes to Peru. Obviously, she masters her powers.
Yeah, she goes to Peru with not a problem in the world.
Yes.
Even though she's wanted for kidnapping, she can still somehow get on a plane with her passport, get to Peru, get to the middle of the Peruvian rainforest, and we don't even see any of it happening. Like, you click your fingers, there's a shot of some trees, which we've already seen before, they've used in the same shot again, and then she's there, and she's, like, in the tunnel. It's just like, what? How did that happen? Like, there was no, like, trying to get through security. Yeah. She's wearing a hat. She's got a hood up. Anything just to show the hardship that she has to say,
it's not even like she could.
Or maybe she uses her powers to get there. Like, she can see where everybody is, so she manages to get... Like, that would have been really cool, but it's just missed opportunity after missed opportunity.
Yeah, and then goes to Peru, masters her powers, comes back to the United States again, no issues coming back into the country. And then the girls were staying with Uncle Ben by that point. Uncle Ben's sister goes into labour, starts having a baby. The girls, for some reason, go to them with to the hospital, even though like they're being tracked. It's kind of like just stay in the house.
Yeah.
Also happens the exact same time that Cass is coming back.
Yes, very convenient. Yeah. So then the girls, like, obviously they get spotted. Cassie has her spider sense goes off, and she's like, oh my god, the girls are going to be intercepted by the spider guy, and he's going to kill them. She runs them over again. Let's
talk for a moment. Kieran, you've not said many words today. What did you think about Ezekiel, the guy?
All right, I'll tell you one thing I didn't like about him. He's a very rich man. Never wears shoes.
In real life or in the film?
In the film. Never wears shoes.
Why would it be the guy in real life that Kieran...
I thought he was going to talk about the guy for a second. I thought you knew who... I thought you were going to say, like, why was he in this film or something.
I have no idea who the actor is. I don't think his voice suited the thing. He sounded way too raspy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is a funny story. It's not that funny. When we were in the cinema, I turned to Michael and I said... It's like he's trying to do Heath Ledger's Joker. That's what he's trying to do. And then we watched a review later that evening and somebody else said it's like a knockoff Heath Ledger's Joker. So I was 100%. Do you get why I say that? Like, I think that is the most accurate description of this character.
I think he was trying too hard in a way that didn't work.
Well, it's like he's trying too hard, but then like also the fact is like most of his lines got redubbed because there's just very.
I did think awful.
That there's some awful dubbing. Like just his his mouth doesn't match the words he's saying, and you can just clearly tell. Like there'll be shots where you don't see his face, and it's just like, I need to go find these Spider Women. You know, it's just
it honestly
Or-
the dubbing is terrible, like absolutely terrible. It's like, come, all this budget, all this money, where has that gone? Like, tell me where that has gone. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, they couldn't have, like, and the fact that they have to do that anyway just shows that they didn't have it together while they were actually filming it. And that is just like, they should have just left it there. They should have just said, you know what, the film we've made is rubbish, let's go in. And then they decided to just redub it all. It's like, well, that's not how it works. Like, if it's rubbish, scrap it.
Yeah. I think, just not a great villain for the movie. Yeah, he has, like, it's very, like, again, as you say, it could have very much worked. Like, I like his motivation is basically he is predestined to die. He's trying to fight
and he's
destiny.
trying to stop. Like, that is very simple,
Yeah.
but you can get away with that if your film is good.
Yeah.
But if your film is bad, which it is, then you can't get away with that very simple premise. That is because he's got no motivation apart from that.
What did you think of the climax of the movie?
Do you even remember what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say one thing before that. Actually, because with Ezekiel, there was one bit of the film. It was literally 5 seconds of the film, which I thought that wasn't too bad, and that's the bit where, like, the girls are running towards the cops, and Ezekiel's, like, taking all the cops out one by one, and you can, like, see, like, he grabs, like, the legs of one and, like, pulls the thing, and, you know, like, takes. That wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
That's it.
You basically, like, look at that and you're like, oh, so this is what Spider-Man would be like, you know, Peter Parker.
If he was evil.
Yeah. Which is kind of what his deal was meant to be. He just doesn't web swing. Like, he just...
but, yeah. In terms of the climax, it was... bad.
Because they go back to the fireworks factory. That's like the end game is in the fireworks factory, isn't it? And it's like,
I mean, you basically you watch the ending twice because they don't try and be like coy about like what she's seeing. They literally show you everything just sped up, and then they do everything. So it's like, well, maybe give us like, you know, it does something. She sees like clips of what's about to happen and she knows what's about to happen. And it's implied that she knows the whole future, but we don't necessarily need to see that she's seeing the whole future.
Absolutely.
So I think it's just, it suffers from what the rest of the film suffers from, which is poor direction, poor acting, poor writing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because like I feel like, again, like it'd almost be if they had a villain who like kind of counteracted her power, like it's maybe like trying to influence the future, so it's not just set that she sees what's going to happen and therefore it happens. You know.
Yeah, if he could change the future as well, that would make a more interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
Because then she's trying to change something and she thinks that's definitely going to happen, and then something happens and it splits and there's a new future because he's seen that and he changes something. That would be more interesting.
Yeah.
Or like if they did, because as you say, it is a very simple premise. They just need to change it to make it more interesting. Because if you know from the start, well, she's seen this is going to happen, so that's going to happen, and because she's seen it's going to happen, there is no changing that.
Yeah.
So it just like all stakes are gone.
Yeah.
It just, you know,
they kind of needed to do like to sort of use the example like everything everywhere all at once. That's like two people on the same power level, like they exist across multiple realities, they know everything that's going to happen, but one's evil, one's good. Like they could have gone for something like that, and it's just the problem when you've got, because she's just very overpowered at the end. It's just there's no, without any disruption, there's no stakes to that whatsoever, and it's just, you know, the way he dies is also just very like, he gets crushed by rubble.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious that each of the three young girls, the Spider Women, they all kind of have like a quality. So one of them knows Taekwondo.
Doesn't use it.
Can't remember what the other one does. She does. And the other one skateboards. So the woman with Taekwondo, she comes up to Ezekiel. She kicks him once. And he goes down. The next woman who skateboards jumps off something, lands on a piece of rubble and slips down a track that is maybe 2 meters, and that's her ability of skate. They've clearly put that in because she knows how to skateboard, so therefore we're going to put her is that not, that's what their thought process is.
Yeah,
but she's done it for 2 meters and then she's pushed him. And it's like, this is
Yeah.
just complete
rubbish.
rubbish.
I was trying to think, because like in his visions, obviously he sees them as like the Spider Women, like they're in their costumes and everything. Because the only one that the one who I like, she like throws. She has like.
Oh yeah, she does throw something.
Yeah, she does. Yeah. So she.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, it's like they're mirroring his like vision, but like obviously it's not happening at the time he thought it would. But I was just like, oh, okay. But yeah, no, I don't. Like obviously the one who skateboards has 4 spider arms, so it's not like she had an equivalent of that to do in that fight. And then Sydney Sweeney can like, she has webs, so it's not like she actually uses that ability.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, oh, they're going for something interesting. It's like the prophecy's coming true and everything's happening as it did.
It's
in
almost,
another
it
time.
could have been like he's made it happen. Like he's somehow given them the powers, which means that they then go on to kill it. But they never get their powers in this film.
That's the other thing that I have annoyed a lot of people is obviously the marketing does show these 3 girls in their Spider Women get-ups. Doesn't really happen, does it though? It's like
they never get their powers.
Yeah, like
I think they're in their suits at the very end. So
but we don't know what happens.
That's the one bit that is implied. The rest of the film is spelled out for
exactly.
us.
Like the one thing that I actually want to know. And the thing is, I could have forgiven that. Like if we never learned how they got their powers and it was sequel bait, fine. If it's a good film.
Yeah, but it's also like they
not.
set the plot point up. It's like, oh, these girls will one day get powers and then beat me up. It's like, but you don't ever show them, or you never allude to like how they get their powers, because it's like, because I'm pretty sure in like his memory or his dream or whatever, they come to his house.
Sorry.
I'm talking about
Film's
this.
so boring. Even talking about it make me on.
They like come to his house and like they're like, oh, what have you done with my spider? And then they beat him up and kill him, basically. But that is just never implied. I thought like, oh, they're gonna have to do a thing where it's kind of like in the Flash where he goes to the alternate universe and it's like, right, you need to get your powers, Barry Allen. Like whether they do like a
or whether because Ezekiel is so overpowered that they need the 3 girls to have the powers as well, so that they can group together and defeat him.
Yeah, but that doesn't happen. Yeah, and the final fight sort of caps off with a pretty cringe bit of like dialogue, and like it's a dialogue editing acting all together. It's just like you thought that you were trying to get to these girls because they're going to be the ones to I don't know what the full line is, but it's something along the lines of like, you thought that these girls were going to be the one to kill you, and like it was all leading up to them, and it's like, oh no, it was me, and it like pans into like a face like I was, and it's just very and then he gets crushed by a Pepsi sign and he's dead. Madam Web gets thrown off the building.
Well, I didn't realise what happened because she gets thrown off the building and she goes underwater, and then, something happens.
A firework goes off in her face.
Okay, but I didn't see that. I saw something happening, and then all of a sudden, in the next scene, she's got glasses on and she's in a wheelchair. And I was like, I don't know how 1 + 1 = wheelchair. Like, I don't...
Wheelchair and blindness.
Like, how does that add up? It doesn't add up.
I thought,
like, if she, because I didn't know that the firework went in her face, and even so, first of all, she's underwater. Like, a firework would not blow up in her face and cause her to be blind when she's underwater.
Well, it's meant to be the whole. Well, it's because the fireworks factory is blowing up. It's just a stray firework just shoots.
Yeah, I know,
into
but
them.
how did it go so deep into the water and be so dangerous to her that it explodes and causes her to be blind?
It doesn't like strictly explode. It just. It just catches her in the face. But
how? Like, how? Like, I don't understand.
In a movie about Spider Women and someone who could see the future, that's your question, is how does a
Exactly,
firework...
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, for this film, I will be that pernickety with it. If it was something else, like in Saving Private Ryan, where all the bullets are going through the water and they're like, yeah, that wouldn't happen in real life. But it's like, you can forgive it because it's such an epic film and it's a good representation of, what would happen. Like... But for this, I can't forgive it. I can't overlook it because everything else is so bad.
Do you know what I can't forgive?
What?
The choice of the glasses they chose.
Yeah.
They looked awful.
Is this when she's
ridiculous.
like in her out, like a full on out? Or do you mean the glasses?
Both.
When she's right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I thought it would get better, but it didn't.
No, it's terrible.
It's equally as bad.
Every decision that they've made for this film has been the wrong decision.
Yeah.
It's like, why was this, like, of all the film, like, I know there's been quite a lot of films cancelled, not from Marvel, but from DC, there was a Batgirl film or whatever. It's like, what a shame that we didn't get to see these films that were probably really good, and we're getting this absolute rubbish. Like,
Yeah.
thank God we didn't have to pay to see it. Like, could you imagine, like, if we had to pay? I would have been absolutely gutted if I was a genuine fan of this comic or whatever, and I wanted to see it, and that was what I got. Like, that is terrible. Terrible scenes.
I think that's the big thing, isn't it? Like, if you're actually a fan of Madam Web and, like, the 3 Spider-Women, and you watch this, I mean, we didn't enjoy it, but if you've got stakes there, and you're watching it and going, "Oh my God, this is dreadful,"
it's like
terrible.
It was like you with the Flash, wasn't it? Because it's not like me too. It's not like me too. To put big on the Flash.
Just as bad as the Flash? Is it worse? Is it the same?
Yes. The thing is with the Flash, I hated the Flash. This was just really bad.
Yeah.
I don't have the emotion for this.
Yeah.
One. I don't have the.
You don't care enough to hate it that much.
Feeling.
We were all kind of like that after the Flash. It was kind of like, what the hell did I just watch? How do they mess it up this bad? Whereas like Madam Web, you kind of like, God, that was bad, wasn't it? Like, you know, nothing. Like, you can come out and be like, well, nothing really worked about that. That's a shame. But the Flash was like, what?
Do you want to know what though? There are some redeemable things in the Flash.
Yeah, it's like, I
actually, even though I know it wasn't a good film, like, I had an enjoyable experience going to the cinema. In some ways I did with this, because it's like funny looking back on it and talking about it and saying horrible things about it. But like, I enjoyed the Flash more. Like, I got more out of that.
Yeah. I think, to be fair, you didn't have the thing with this film where it's not like the head of Sony went, "Oh my God, Madam Web's the best thing ever. Like, you guys should totally go see it." Whereas, like, James Gunn said that about the Flash, and we were like, "What the hell?"
I mean, 100% was contractual though.
Yeah. But like, you don't go into it and think like, "Oh my God, so many people have like said this is the best film ever. Like, what's going on?" Whereas like this, you're kind of like expecting it to be.
Yeah.
Probably.
I'm glad that we watched it so that we can say that it's bad, having actually seen it, rather than just like jumping on the bandwagon of everybody saying how rubbish it is. But we can, like, but you don't need to see it. Anybody listening to this who's thinking, "Oh, should I just see it anyway, just for a bit of fun, I've got nothing to do on a Wednesday evening, whatever," don't see it. It's complete and utter garbage.
Don't. I mean, we'll see them just because we like reviewing things, but don't see any of the Sony movies apart from
or any Marvel films. Like, I'm so dumb. Like, I'm not seeing them anymore. Like, it's just they're all rubbish.
Well, I was saying this to Kieran. Sony should just stick to making animated movies because that's what they're good. Like, they're good. Like, you know, the Sony animated Spider-Man movies are really good.
Yeah.
Stick to that. Whereas, like, don't try and make this crap cinematic universe. Like, I'm really not looking for... I'll watch it, but I'm not looking forward to Craven. Like, that looks awful.
Yeah, it's Aaron Taylor-Johnson as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
I do like him, but...
But again, they've written themselves into a corner. They're trying to do all these different things without Spider-Man being in the stories for some reason, and it's just really biting them. They just need to admit
defeat and just find something else. Like, why can't studios just come up with something? Like, because nobody got... I mean, I know I've got no imagination, but I don't get paid to have an imagination. These people get paid to literally imagine things and create things.
It's not just that, though.
Come up with something.
It's like just at least try and adapt this character or this story well. And, like, if you know for this story you need to have this pre-existing character who you own in it.
Spider-Man didn't need to be noted in this at all for me. He was barely even mentioned. They could have, like, this is very easily done without Spider-Man being there. So why is it still terrible? Like, there's no excuse. They should have done. They could have done Madam Web more justice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the thing. It could have been the same with Morbius. It's probably going to be the same with Craven. Obviously, Venom. I don't mind the Venom movies, but
they're not the best. But
also that's also like you've really tried and distance this from Spider-Man when Spider-Man is such a pivotal thing of Venom's whole deal, and you've just been like, "Oh no, there's no Spider-Man here. Well, what are you talking about? Venom can exist without Spider-Man." It's like, yeah, but not well. I don't know. What are your takeaways from this movie?
Don't watch it. Just ignore that it ever came out. You know, it's one of those. I reckon this is a strong contender for worst film of the year.
Yeah.
If not in the top 5 of the decade.
Top 5 of the decade? Yeah. I suppose we're only 4 years in, you know. Is The Flash one of those movies?
The Flash is number 1. That will be unchanging. But this can take one of the other 4 slots.
Yeah. No, I think...
I'll get back to you in 6 years' time with my 4 list.
When we're still going in 6 years.
Yeah. I think it's... I said in the car on the way home maybe like a 4.5. But I think the more I think about it,
A 4.5. That's generous.
I know exactly, and I don't know why I said that at the time, but I do think that a 1 or a 2 is.
Yeah, I'm giving
It's very rare that I say that about a film.
I'm giving it a 2 just because I feel like it's not. I didn't feel offended by it. There's definitely a lot wrong with it, but like there's still. There's probably some bits you can. I can laugh at it. So it's not like and not offensive. I feel like number one for a film to be a 1 out of 10, it needs to be like really offensive to you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go for a 2. What about you, Kieran?
Yeah, I mean, I think just trying to compare it to The Flash. I wanted to give Flash a 0, but you can't give something a 0, so I think I had to give it like 0.5.
Probably half a star. Yeah, half a star. Yeah.
So this didn't hurt me as much as that did. So I guess we'll go for like a 1.5 to a 2 out of 10, which is firmly. I can't stress enough. Don't watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't.
Honestly terrible.
Don't waste your time.
Yeah.
Well, that was our thoughts on Madam Web. I feel like we're really late to this. I don't know how long we've been talking for.
I think we've been talking for a while.
But it doesn't stop there. The negativity train doesn't stop there unless True Detective Season 4 manages to exceed mine and Tulip's expectations. So that's what you're going to hear me and Tulip talking about next week.
But not me.
Not Kieran, because
Yeah,
he hasn't
not you,
watched it.
Kieran.
I've been relegated.
Go away.
Exactly.
You've said dead to bed. We haven't enjoyed it so far, so
Yeah,
that's,
you're lucky you haven't been watching it because it's awful.
But we're going to be talking about that True Detective Season 4. So join me and Tulip next week as we give our thoughts on that. But in the meantime, this has been this episode of the Cinematic Trinity. I've been Michael.
I've been Kieran.
And I've been Tulip.